Oh,
OMG.
that's perfect.
I really know how to make an entrance, don't I?
Yeah, but you're the IT lady though, so I had
Uh, see, this is good for all the folks that ever feel intimidated by technology or gadgets or things. Um, it happens to all of us.
to. Yes. It was so crazy because as soon as you mentioned Meta, that's when all of the voice went out.
That's all right. I know that was my tinfoil conspiracy theory because I'm a tech equitist, and I have a very strong point of view of certain what we call techno fascism and all these like tech pros and things, and so right now, yes, Meta's doing some not so good things, and so I can see why maybe they want to make my experience not as pleasant, on the
That's
platform.
that's interesting. I'm gonna write that down so I can ask you a little bit later. Maybe.
Sure, yeah,
Actually, I'll ask you about Meta at the end just in case, you know.
okay.
uh, um, all right, so you ready to get started? Shauna,
Let's
how
do
are you?
this. Yes, I am. Thank you for inviting me to have this talk, this little plática together.
Yes, yes. I think this is important for all of us. You know, it's important for business owners, but I think because we are all online now, you know, I think it's really important for the world. But I'll let you get into that. And before we get into that, let's introduce you. Like, who are you?
Sure. Yes. Well, I am. I'm a community member. I'm an activist. Rooted in activism, although now I think my activism looks a little differently than maybe when I was a lot younger. But just always doing work, doing things that at that time are calling me into my purpose. That has looked different in different phases of my life, and will continue to as I continue this path on this Mother Earth here. And so I've been a labor organizer. I'm an urban planner by degree. I've worked with undocumented youth. I've do work around social and environmental impact, and so just never followed a the conventional. Um, I won't call it wisdom because I don't think it is. But some of those teachings where we have to like pick a lane or like do the thing. Some folks are wired that way, and that works, and that's I think a real beautiful thing. And others, we have curiosities that take us on like lots of side quests, as the kids are saying now, and so have always had a little bit of that ability to intersect my knowledge and experience, and so that somehow included technology, and not necessarily because I wanted to be a computer scientist or a developer or anything, but more around, I think, as you shared, is it's part of our world, and how we maneuver, and so wanted to make sure that as I use it, I did it in a way that was equitable. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and I launched my business. I'll be my fifth year this year, and so really new to entrepreneurship. Didn't think that was something that I would ever be or had a label for. But as soon as I had that little seed planted for me, I just never looked back, and so I'm really enjoying this kind of era of my life path now.
I love that. I love that. So, could you describe or could you tell us about Tecero Solutions? What is it?
What is it? What does it do? Well, I mean, it's really a culmination of what I shared. And so I work with all the rebel rousers, all the justice-based folks, all the movement folks, black and brown folks that are, just either contributing through a traditional business or through a nonprofit organization, but, offering their gifts, and whether that's through is selling goods or food or providing a service. I come in. I'm not one to. This is not a new term that I coined, but actually was actually in a gathering of all femme entrepreneurs, and one of the sisters shared that she's a business doula, And then I also heard it in the nonprofit space as an org doula. And that really resonated with me because, I come in and really support from a kind of like that back end administrative operations type of lens. So I get to get real geeky and really I'm really good at not only being in the hands on, right? So either it's like doing some ridiculous formula in a spreadsheet to analysis and things. And so I'm like I come in with a lot of care and compassion. I really respect the culture of the organization, and I like to move at the pace of trust with organizations. And so really understanding what are ways that we can help move forward the objectives or mission of your company or organization. But also understanding from not only like the tactical, administrative, like what's that scaffolding you need to really have a healthy, thriving business, to also having a strategic view, right? And so having allowing you to have some of that, like as someone helped name for me, having a crane view, right? That higher level bird's eye view of the work and what you're doing. And so really being able to kind of think about it in those different with those different lenses.
Okay, okay. So why would a business need you?
Well, oftentimes, I mean, I think it varies in terms of the organization and the person. So, I'm very relational. I like to, really get to know not only the folks that I'm partnering with, but also in terms of the communities that they're serving, so that I can see whether one, I'm a good match. I'm not for everyone, and so really making sure that there's alignment there. So not only just the who, but the how. And so, a lot of folks, I think, could use some support. Either it's just a bandwidth issue, not being able to address or be able to hold all the different elements that it's going to take to run the thing. And so, it's I think helpful to have someone like me, an advisor, and there's different names for the different types of support. So there's like mentorship, coaches, advisors, consultants. Now there's fractional, right? So there's these different kind of terms that have some nuance in terms of how the support you bring in, but just having that. I mean, we're humans. We're in community. Even the most introverted of the introverts, right? We all have a connection to other beings, whether it's the planet, whether it's other humans. And so I think having someone come in and support your ecosystem that is your business is always going to be beneficial. So having someone with a different lens, different energy, a different level of expertise and different skill set that maybe it's not your strength in your organization, I think is always going to be helpful for an organization and for a leader within that organization. And also just some of the tools that can come in. And so I think it really matters in terms of the how and who that's doing it. I think is going to be what will allow me to make the most impact for a partner.
I love that. I love that. You help and support other businesses. Why do you do that? Like, what made you want to support and help other businesses kind of get to a higher level?
Well, I think my path has always been, to be of service or in service. Even when I was, a youth. I think that's always been something that I naturally did. And I'm a very systems thinker. I'm a process person. I'm really blessed that I can dab between my left and right. So I'm a creative. I think that's what's given me some of the audacity to do some of the things that I've done right, and take risks, and be curious and go down and go toward the danger versus like running away from it. So I think my creative has helped me, and then also my logical side. So that really has. I've always seen that I'm very like organized in with structure, but also having kind of that ability to be agile and have some flexibility, right, and allow for that movement. And so and just kind of follows rhythms. And so I think for me that's kind of been my calling is always kind of I can see when I tap in how I can support without necessarily being given a lot of direction. I think shows up a lot in my volunteerism because I'm coming into an organization that maybe or situation that maybe it's not something that I do often, and then I can kind of come in with humility. I'm not going to come in level like I'm like the savior here or like the expert, right? That's not my vibe. But really coming in, listening, watching, and being able to see how I can tap in.
I love that. I love that. And you said the org doula. Can you just break down for the viewers and for the people the services that your company provides?
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I really like that term, although I haven't really formally adopted it, but I do share it a lot, is because it's someone who really stewards a transition, right, or stewards kind of a natural process. So whether that and there's so many forms, and I think that I'm careful because I don't want to appropriate the term either. That's why I think I'm careful about using it. And often you hear it with either birth or death, right? So that those kind of major cycles in of our human life. And so that person comes again doesn't come in with like I'm the expert, I'm the one that knows, right? Like you do in Western medicine, where it's a different way of interacting with a patient. It's really coming in with that care and compassion and really supporting the person. And so that's I think the energy and the way that I approach and come into a project or an organization. And so and that can be really geeky. So again, I do financial forecasting for folks. I do strategic planning, right? So some of like the real heady, very technical aspects of an organization. It could also be looking at, your organizational structure, your organizational capacity, right? Understanding what are some of the needs within your organization that maybe aren't there, and how to think those. To digital and technology, right? So thinking about like automation, what tools do you use? What are some of the how does that support some of the operations, but it's always telling the story of your mission of what are the values of your organization. And so I think that's the distinction. Like I'm actually hosting I'm wrapping up a 3-part digital security series for food justice practitioners, right? So queer, BIPOC farmers. Initially, it was in the rural South, but it's kind of expanded now in terms of the folks that are participating. But it's really thinking about the lens of technology, digital security, but with a liberatory social justice lens. And so a lot of how I approach has some conventional knowledge around whether it's financials, again, digital security, cybersecurity, but always has that unique lens that is, I think, specific to our lived experiences as marginalized communities. That has an understanding of like the systemic, which is, I think, what we were talking about and why we were having some of these tech issues with these platforms that we're on now. And so that's a bit about how I think I approach things a lot differently, and always have that lens of how are we being in right relationship to each other, but also to and we don't separate ourselves from nature, right? We are nature, right? But to like other being like the earth, and so like even in terms of like how we use technology, when you're vetting, thinking about like how does it impact the folks that you're working with, the planet, and that sort of thing.
Love it, love it, love it. What is speaking of the cybersecurity? What is a misconception that we might have about cybersecurity?
Yeah, that's great. That's it's interesting, and I think it varies, depends on what your relationship is to technology in general. I think right now, a lot of folks, I think with tech, especially for smaller businesses, nonprofits, that you need a like security is this grand thing, right? That requires an immense amount of resources. That it is something that cannot really be practiced without having you know, uh, specific expertise. And so, what I try to do is help make it more accessible. Understand that we're not going to do things, and I say this often. We need to just start and do it, and that we're going to do it very imperfectly. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to do it right. And so I think just understanding that a it's an ongoing practice. It's not an event, right? It's not a one-time thing that you do. It's not like a set it and forget it thing. Does anyone know that reference? That's fine. Right. And so I think just understanding that anyone can practice and adopt a digital security, cybersecurity behavior practice, and that there are some accessible ways to approach it, and there's layers, right? And so it really depends on your risk tolerance, the type of work what you do. But you probably know a lot more about it than you're giving yourself credit.
Love it, love it. I have a question from one of the viewers.
Yay!
The viewer asks, how do I build a base of authentic supporters versus bots?
Okay, I feel like I need more I need more context. Do we know the type of business or where or maybe repeat, and I might be able to make some assumptions, but I want to make sure I'm answering in a way that is meaningful.
Yeah, so that was one of the viewers before our IT situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like a hypothetical situation. Let's use myself. So
Okay.
I'm an actor.
You're an
And
actor?
I am. I love how you said creative because it was
Did you,
like,
did you know that I used to be I used to have my own theater group, Red Beans and Rice Theater.
really? Where was
We
it?
gotta maybe we gotta collaborate on something, friend.
Collab. So were you the ED? You were the
No,
founder.
no, no. This was a student group. This was a
Okay.
student group, and I thought this theater was calling me, but who knows? Maybe that's coming. Maybe that it'll be a different life cycle. But
Well, maybe in this life cycle, maybe we can collaborate. No, I don't know. We'll see. Uh, that's cool though. That's cool. Yeah. So as an actor, let's say building a brand on social media, I put up these posts and all of these bots just keep coming. You know, is there a way that we can kind of screen for those? Is that something that's just going to just happen? Is it something that I could block? Is there any like settings that I could use or anything?
that's a tough one. It's interesting because I actually have it up on my computer screen. This digital security workshop that I mentioned earlier. So it was a three-part series, and a lot of it was about online communication and online protections because we know now that with this administration, this regime, better said, is really attacking our online presence. And so this whole notion of uh, digital suppression, digital repression, what's the other term that I'm trying to think of right now? Censorship, right? And so while that's not quite the question, it is some of those that behavior, right? That's preventing us from being able to communicate effectively online. And so there's so what they're asking more is like, how do you kind of filter for the folks that are like engaging on your content? So I think that there's a little nuance that's a little different because it's going to vary based on your platform. And so one of the recommendations so I have a lot of recommendations from the back end to protect your kind of your digital sovereignty, your presence in the digital sphere. And then there's like the kind of what the front end, the content part to help protect some of your communications online. Social media is a beast just in terms of, again, the platforms and then who owns these platforms. As we can see, our media is being controlled, monopolized by, very few. And so one of the recommendations that I think may be relevant to this would be one is just pick your platform, right? Your platform matters. And so there are a lot of decentralized platforms that are more like what's kind of open source or don't have again, they're decentralized. They're not like the metas where like it's all the, kind of a cluster of platforms by the same ownership. And so I think just understanding what platform you're on and kind of what the vibe is and who the owns is, I think is going to impact your experience, because then those terms and conditions, their community guidelines, those type of things will then impact, right, the ability for some of these accounts to exist and what the processes are for that. And really, I mean, outside of that, I don't really know how much more you can really control for that, right? Outside of saying we need policies to govern, right, and laws to limit and restrict what these companies are allowing to do. But you want to be really careful with that because, again, a lot of those are used to weaponize, right, and censor voices like ours that aren't necessarily trying to cause harm for others. Now, with the proliferation of these next-gen technologies, right now is the bigger buzz one is, AI is making it even more difficult because it's allowing for these type of like automated bot personas, right, to be created at mass, at scale. And so I think it's just kind of making it a lot more difficult, but it's up to us to say, do we want to be in these platforms that are allowing for that? Or are we going to go in places that we know have better, that are more values aligned and have better community guidelines that don't allow for that? That's going to be my best answer, just because we can only control what we can control. And honestly, the algorithms, again, those guidelines, the platforms of ownership aren't things that we can necessarily control.
Got it. Got it. For you, what's the most rewarding part about what you do?
Let's see. Well, you're going to try to stump me on this one.
No, no, no.
It's, it's these type of questions are hard for me because I feel like there's almost like an implication of like this one thing. And I'm like a micro person. Like if someone asks me, like, who was like an influence or what was, I just think of like those little, like those acts of kindness, or those little things that people do that just, can go a long way. And so similar, like, the rewarding pieces for me aren't like this grand thing that I can like, hold like this. It's really like those small things that calm my nervous system, right? Those fun moments, right? Like this morning, just having a conversation with one of my clients and just being human with each other and just that sense of safety and comfort, right? And connecting and so sometimes it could be, yeah, I can see where I helped them solve a problem, or we implemented under budget or on time, those type of kind of traditional measures of success. So absolutely, if I know that I am contributing in a meaningful way to their to meeting their to living they're actually practicing their mission and values, then to me that I know I'm doing a good thing.
Okay. Is there a particular type of client that you usually work with or a type of business?
Yeah, I'd say it's interesting. Even when I first started, again, like people trying to put you in a single lane. I don't necessarily. Well, I will say mostly mid-size. I don't work with like large enterprise. That's just not my vibe now, in the iteration of my business. But I will say it's really more around values alignment. So I'm a very principled person. I have very strong, I'm very opinionated. You can call me a hater. Right, I have a lot of points of view in terms of how I want to maneuver in this world, in this body that I'm in now, and so I don't put myself when I have the agency to compromise those values, and so I will say no to business if they just don't align, and I am saying that with a place of privilege. Right. There may be a point where I will need to pay some rent and need to take on a project that I don't feel really good about. And I'm not there yet, and so I'm hoping the universe will continue to be very abundant and not, not have to make those decisions.
I love that. I love that. So for us watching, can you take us through a day to day? Well, take us through one day of you at work. Like tell us one of the busiest days. What would that consist of?
That's going to make me really depressed because it's going to require me to be in front of a computer for probably longer than I need to. I probably should be, taking more breaks and being outside, receiving this beautiful sun that we have been blessed with since I think yesterday it started to, although it's a little windy now. But this, so yeah, I'm probably behind the screens and the things a little bit too much. But yeah, actually right now I'm toggling through a ton of projects. So I was actually sharing with a couple of friends of like I'm grateful, and it's a good test of my systems, right? Of how I'm able to kind of manage multiple. But so I could be so I'm doing a technology roadmap for a nonprofit out in LA that works with who's actually on the front lines combating the disappearing of our folks, aka the ICE raids that we're experiencing, and so helping them again in an accessible way be able to implement some and improve some of their technical hygiene, and so it's doing it's a lot of writing. So I like to put together different like reports and things that are very accessible that I will include jargon, but also like to define it. So it's a lot of like doing a lot of translating, trying to think about how to share information in a way that's accessible. I'm also working on some financial forecasting for another organization, and so it's lots of geeky spreadsheets and formulas and things. And so let's see what else can I be doing in a day? Creating, I said now I'm doing a couple workshops for folks and some analysis so actually I have two folks that are interested in de-Googling their life, and so they're migrating off of Google Workspace because they don't want to support the harms that Google does with the genocide and their support of many of these unnecessary wars. And so I'm helping them put together a plan of how to migrate off of Google into a more privacy security centered platform that are more values aligned. And so putting together a lot of like decks and things so that I can present to their staff. So actually one of them, I will be doing it in both English and Spanish. So that's going to be a test for me because I'm not the strongest in. When you speak conversationally, it's very different than when you're talking tech jargon to to folks in another language. So yeah, I guess I'm able to get a little bit. So it's a little creative because I do like to be graphical in how I present information. And then also some of it is just some raw calculations.
I like that. I love the so I told you I was an actor, and
Yes.
uh, I have a son. He's when he was younger, he was in one of my movies. So when he was younger, his classmates Googled him. And so he came home and he was like, take me off. I don't want to be on there.
Check me out.
And we were literally researching like how could we de-Google ourselves? What is that process? Because I
Yeah.
think that's super beneficial.
It's actually one of the recommendations. So it's interesting because, I don't necessarily work with like a consumer per se, right? I work with other organizations, with businesses, but I mean, we're all humans, so I'm dealing with an individual, right? But I'm what you consider B2B, right? Business to business, right? Because I'm working with other organizations. And a lot of a lot of the advice and things can be applied to you, right, personally, especially now with like the lines being blurred between our personal and business lives, right? You're probably using your personal device to access work related things and vice versa. And so, really understanding that, we're also, we're not isolated. So, you could be have the most hardened security environment, but your cousin or your colleague doesn't, right? And then all of a sudden your world is contaminated, right? And so one of the things that I advise is to do a little digital it's cleaning, right? And to clean your environment. And there's a number of things you can do to do that. You should always declutter and clean your digital space. And there's a whole thing that you can do. But one of them is is how you show up. Right now there is these things called data brokers. And that's why these platforms, again, going back to what platforms you use, matter, because they are now, even though we think like we're on a free platform, we are paying a very expensive cost to be on this platform. And that comes through our data. And I think, as many have probably heard in the news, of how many of these platforms have been sued because they're violating the terms and conditions and these policies, that they're using our data in ways that they said they were not. Or maybe the platform, the way you knew it, has changed, has been acquired, and you've heard like private equity and all these other different type of entities, right? Gets bought out, and all of a sudden this agreement that you had is now null and void because of this new company. And so the proliferation of our data being shared is just that risk is getting more severe and more severe. And so the beauty is, actually California just passed and is now offering a free service to be able to do what you just said, is to basically scrub your presence off of the website. And so there's a number of free versions that you can use. One is you can do it yourself, so you can go to a platform. There again, California also has rules where you can ask your right to know, so you can request like, what information do you have on me. You can ask them to delete it. There's all these. So if you go to the privacy policies, they're supposed to have detailed, an easy way for you to do that. So you can go through each insert, like you said, it's almost like there's a term called doxing, where someone can basically reveal your personal information. That's kind of a type of breach that someone can do on you. But you could also dox yourself, right? So what you said is like, try to find yourself. And so you can go to all those sources and ask them to remove it. And you can use these privacy laws to give you a little bit more oomph to do it. But also services. So now California is offering a free service that you can sign up for, that they'll do that for you. And then you can also pay for services to do that. And so one of the ones that I recommend that's paid is Delete Me, which basically, and it's a subscription, because your data is constantly being breached, right? So how many times have you received a notice that, hey, we're sorry, your telephone company sends you a notice saying, we're sorry, we got breached, your information got leaked, right? And so or it could be one of the recommendations, actually similar to that workshop, is to delete old posts. Like, go into wherever you have your online, like your photos, right? Go in, look through, see what information is shared. If it's too personal, you're like, back in the day, I kind of put everything. Now, not so much. Go in and archive them. Go in and delete them, right? Like, just take as much as you can off. But also, there are services, and now, unfortunately, there's with AI, it's making it so much easier for folks to be able to scrape and be able to get data from you. And so again, it's constantly you've heard the term kind of like the dark web, right? It's really easy for you to show up there. And so having these services that are constantly scraping and looking and removing would be helpful. But if cost is a barrier for you, there are ways, there are services that you can do that are not that are free, not as robust, but still, semi effective for you to go in and do it, or you can just go on your own completely and try to scrape. And it's sad that we even need those services, but here we are.
Yes, yes, yes. Here we are. And it was like kind of seen it coming, right? Like just to see you throw us this internet, and then we're seeing like all this craziness and good and mixture of all, and it's like, oh, how is this going to turn out, in the future?
Yep.
But I love that you say California is offering a free service, and I love that there's ways to kind of, remove the old things and things
I
like
mean, we're not holding anyone account, the people that are doing it. Just like it's similar to climate change, right? We're feeling guilty and using our soggy straws and trying to do our water bottle, and yet we know these big corporations are the bigger polluters, right? And they're the ones like creating the harm, but yet somehow the responsibility is on us, the individual. Similar, right? We have all of this infrastructure and this now lucrative infrastructure because we're paying for these services, right? So that even though we're not the ones causing the issue, but we're the ones responsible for solving for it, right? Ineffectively, and yet these companies, there's no accountability. But again, that'll be a conversation for maybe another life.
Definitely.
Another rabbit hole we can go down.
Definitely. So, is there anything you want the people to know? Any advice that you want to give them? Anything that they should start doing right now to allow their business to progress or to flow? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I love that you use the word flow because, I think oftentimes when I mean, this is why you hear the words stuck, right? We know there's the flow, right? We're not in flow. And so, just being mindful of what that means for you. I think I remember when I was first starting out and all the different, advisement that I received, some of it I think was a little boilerplate, a little conventional. And again, I don't see myself as a conventional business person. Like I don't do well in like entrepreneur spaces and like business spaces, because to me, they're just kind of perpetuating the same capitalistic harms that are keeping our communities in the way that they are. And so I always seek like-minded folks. And I think you mentioned Just Be was in the room before, right? Like communities and like COBIZ, right? That really are approaching our communities with a different lens and a different way of being. And so I challenge businesses to really, kind of take what you know and then question it, right? And just really analyze and say, does this really fit into my ethos, right? Is this serving me anymore? Maybe it did back in the day when you were like in hella survival mode, right? And you were just trying to do the thing. And so just really, I think constantly questioning, evaluating, assessing, right? What are the guardrails? Giving yourself space to do that as well. I know that also comes from a place of privilege. Not everyone, I mean, people are just kind of like in this go, go, go. But capitalism has us doing that, right? Like that, right? And we can't. And so take that breath, right? Give yourself that space, and then just being able to have and no matter what I'm doing, whether it's digital security, whether it's doing a financial analysis, like approach it in phases. Don't try to like think that you got to do all the things, have it all like. And mind you, I'm a process person, so I love me a dotted I and a cross T, right? But it's not always going to land that way. We know that's not just how things go. And so having a plan so you have those good guardrails, but not being so rigid, right? And being able to understand, okay, if something didn't quite work, then how can we adjust? I often, even in my own journey, like this whole like pursuit of perfection, right? We have this like sense of we have to, or this fear of failure, right? Which is often at the root cause of why we want to be perfect, right? And so just, I think reassessing your relationship to that now, we know that in certain spaces, there's no consequences to your action. So I'm not perpetuating that by any means. And I'm also, allowing us to give ourselves some grace, to be able to, get have a little scrape here and there, right? Learn from it, and also just not be afraid to be in community, right? Be in spaces where you can be vulnerable, where you can ask questions, and I mean, similar to a space like this, where we can ask each other questions and be vulnerable and not know and say, I don't know, right? And say like, how did you figure it out, right? So I think that those are always going to be approaches that will allow you to, I think, move in a way that feels meaningful for you, but also allows you to like receive wisdom in a way that maybe you haven't when you're just like constantly like this. So I would say I would start there.
That's so amazing. Thank you so much, Kim, for taking time today to address the people, to answer a lot of their questions, and to let us know about Tecero Solutions and what you do. Really,
Absolutely. Well, I hope I see more folks during office hours. Yeah, I mean, if it's not something that I can support in real time, or it's just a little too unique to your environment, I can always follow up and be able to work with you offline. But I look forward to more of these convos and hopefully kind of demystifying some of the tech jargon, digital security space that can feel a little like hood, right? Like that typical like hacker type of persona that people think about, right? And so, yeah, I would love to keep hearing more from what folks are wanting to get curious about.
yes, yes. Thank you so much. So I'll reach out soon. Please let everyone know how they can contact you.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully, I mean, I guess you could DM me, but I don't know. Instagram might get mad. I'm just playing. I'm joking. Um, you can. I mean, I'm obviously here. So at the Tecero Solutions, you'll see my handle on this. If you're watching the replay, also Tecero Solutions, which is actually my last name, Tercero, which means third in Spanish. And then solutions spelled out on the website. And if you go on that website, you can reach out to me. There's a contact there. You can also book a discovery call. Although I think through the if you are a CoBiz wraparound service member, on the website, there's a way, I think, in the portal where they actually haven't seen it, so you probably know better than me. There's a portal where you can book me directly. I think I have my own booking site for ProBiz. I
Right.
think on that platform.
Yes, yes. Please take advantage of that. And check out, have a conversation with Miss Kim and see how you can make your business flow. Thank you
So
so
we're
much.
gonna now we're gonna have to do some like some shorts. We could do like little skits and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I already have ideas, friend. I have ideas.
We have to talk. We have to talk.
Yeah.
We definitely do. We're gonna make commercials. We're gonna make CoBiz commercials and
Okay. Okay.
Zero Solution commercials. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah, when I was in LA, I one of my part-time gigs was I used to work for this real estate company that owned Hollywood and Highland, and so I was always out during the productions, making sure things are always cray, so there's no way for you to stop that. But
Right.
yeah,
Just manage it a little.
uh-huh, uh-huh,
Make sure it
uh-huh.
don't go too cray, right?
Yeah, but no, I got to see some of the production sets and things, so that was kind of fun. I did a sound check once.
A sound
They
check.
asked, they asked me help. They asked me to help me to do a sound check, so I did that.
Okay, that was cool. Mike check. Let's see. Listen, we're gonna collaborate, and then you're gonna be the one conducting the sound checks.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thanks for this opportunity, and we'll do it again. We'll do it again soon.
We'll do it again soon. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take
Uh,
care.
bye bye.